I don't know how many times I had to re-record this, and it's because of names. I keep on tripping up over them. But in today's episode, we are going to recap the action from the Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol fight on DAZN and ESPN Plus on Saturday. My name is Percy, and welcome to the 4Bs, where we discuss boxing, betting the B-side, and other BS. Be sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. We'll start off the action with the first bout that I was actually able to catch, which was Sky Nicholson versus Raven Chapman. In this one, we had Nicholson by decision on FanDuel at minus 350, and she held up. She looked great the whole night and maybe dropped a round or two along the way, but was never in danger. That was a good way for us to start. The next bout that actually took place was not something that was offered. It was Chirs Eubank Jr. versus Camille Zera. In this bout, what you had basically was two 35-year-olds trying to secure one or two last bags before they can right off into the sunset, right? We know that Eubanks is trying hard to secure a Canelo fight for the grand prize of all boxing, but along the way he might want to try and fight with Nigel Benn, which looks like that's what's lined up. For Zera, I believe that Saturday's fight was really the bag for him because from what I saw, he made $400,000 off of that fight. He's a guy that's had been able to reach the top, not really had success there. For a guy like him, a $400,000 payday is quite a nice payday. If he can add on to that with any others along the way, then great. But if not, at least he got this one, right? So Eubanks is able to control the fight. You see him establishing his uppercut, really trying to go for the knockout. He had him down in the first round and again a couple more times and did it with body shots too. He looked good in doing it, but I don't think I saw anything there that makes me think he would ever pose any kinds of problems for Canelo, which is to say that keeps him in line to be a Canelo opponent. With that said, he probably does want to fight Nigel Benn because it seems like the two of them do not like each other and really actually do want to fight. He'd be risking a chance at Canelo, but I think if Canelo were to come calling, he'd just put Nigel Benn to the side for a little while to make some extraordinarily life-changing money with that. The next fight that came out, now we go back to our bets from Saturday, and this is where it starts going wrong. At this point, we had cruiserweights at 200 pounds, Jai Opetaia versus Jack Massie, and I had said I'm going to bet Jack Massie to make it to the final bell, so Opetaia was going to win by decision, and you could kind of tell from the very beginning that wasn't going to happen. Opetaia was throwing Massie a tremendous beating, busting his face up and hurting him all over the place, and it was just a matter of time until the corner threw in the towel for Massie. Leading up to this fight, I saw Opetaia had been talking about wanting to fight Usyk, and I thought he was out of his mind. Now I kind of see why. I don't know how he would do in a fight like that. Again, he'd be giving up some weight, but then Usyk was a cruiserweight himself for a good long time before he went up to the heavyweight ranks, and he's also getting older. So I don't know that Opetaia has the name value that Usyk would be looking for in one of the last fights he has before he retires, and I know he's thinking of that, so that fight might never materialize. One thing we know from this set of fights is that Opetaia is definitely someone to watch. In the next of the undercards, we had Fraser to win by decision over Fabio Wardley in the rematch of a fight from earlier this year. How'd we do in that one? Well, the look on Fraser Clark's face in the first round tells you exactly what you need to know. I hope that he is doing okay today and that he can recover from this. He just took some hellacious punches from Wardley. At 33 years old, I don't know how much more of a career he's going to have. I don't know how much time he's going to have to rebuild to try and make some more big purses or anything like that. First things first, health. I hope he recovers fine from this, and I do hope we get to see him again, but he might need to work on some lower level bouts to kind of like hone his skills again before he got kind of, and his confidence before he gets into the ring again. Fabio Wardley, on the other hand, this is a guy who's billed as being a former white collar boxer. I had to look that up. I didn't really even know what they meant, and apparently it's guys who have like day jobs who just like box kind of like competitively but kind of for fun or whatever. And somehow that turned into an actual boxing career for him. You can kind of see why with that tremendous power and athleticism, but he's another guy that honestly, at 29 years old, he probably should be fighting 4 or 5 times a year against lower-level competition to hone his skills and make him into a more viable contender, because right now all he is just winging shots, and against the top heavyweights he would just get killed. Then we finally came up to our main event between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, and there's been enough time that has passed and people have said what they thought of this fight. A lot of people like to throw out the word robbery. I don't see how you can think it's a robbery when the guy you thought was going to win doesn't win. if it's a close fight by nature, it could go either way. I know there was a lot of talk about the one judge who had it 116, 112. That just means that that judge had it 8 rounds to 4 for Beterbiev. If you had Beterbiev winning by the slightest of margins, you would have had him winning 7 rounds to 5. To say that there was one more round that went to Beterbiev on this judge's scorecard than the slightest measure of winning, I find it hard to call that a robbery. Maybe you disagree with the scoring, and that's natural. But there is a lot of judgment in being a judge, and we can't just fully account for all these things. You see the same thing in other sports with especially with a baseball umpire, where they might see the framing of a pitch and call that a strike, where another judge might, or another umpire might say that that's a ball. Whether you like it or not, I don't think it was in any way, shape, or form a robbery. Me personally, I thought that going into rounds 10, 11, and 12, Beterbiev was losing by 3 points. I thought he needed to get a knockdown to win. He didn't, but I thought he did win the last 3 rounds, and that's why I had it as a draw. But I'll take the win, because what it did was, when he was announced as the winner, it made sure that some of the things that we had won. Beterbiev as a moneyline bet won. Hedging your bets by saying Beterbiev will win in round 9, 10, or whatever to start from then on, or if you want to go earlier, 5, 6, 7, you could have done that, but I was saying I was going to wait until 9 or 10 because that's when the real value was. Those all won. If you even took that sneaky pick that I gave you and said, hey, Beterbiev to win by decision, plus 700, that won. So everything there turned out great. The reason why I said later rounds is because I really thought that if it was going to end with a knockdown, and he either secures a decision because he got a knockdown and had Bivol on his back foot and kind of protecting himself, or that he got a knockdown and then eventually a stoppage in the later rounds. I didn't think it was going to be something that Bivol would get caught in rounds 1 through 6 or 7 even and get knocked down early. So that's why all my focus was on the later rounds. I can't run a full victory lap on that, but we do know that a good number of those bets did turn out well. So if we're looking at the overall landscape and how this might affect boxing, one thing you might want to say is, in the Canelo sweepstakes, the biggest winner here might possibly be Terence Crawford, because Canelo wants big name fights. He said he would want Bivol if Bivol won, but Bivol didn't, and now Bivol is going to be tied up fighting Beterbiev, which gives Canelo an out, because I don't think he would have wanted any piece of Beterbiev in a fight at 175. That's a whole different problem you're dealing with. It's not about a matter of boxing skill, it's a matter of how much punishment you can take from a guy like Beterbiev. If he had any thoughts of that and I was in his camp, I would suggest for him not to do that, especially not here when he's just about to ride off into the sunset and just wants to make a few more big name fights and big money fights. That would leave Terence Crawford as your best option for a big name, big money fight with less long-term risk to you physically. He doesn't want any fights with David Benavidez, so we already have that off the table. Bivol is out of the picture now too. It leaves Bud as your most viable option. So maybe we'll get to see that fight in 2025. Unless, of course, he does go the Chirs Eubank's route, which, that's easy work. That's easy work for Canelo. I could definitely see him doing it, but we'll have to see how that plays out with Nigel Benn and Chirs Eubank as well. So there you have it. That's my recap of the fights and what I think is the shakeout of what happened on Saturday. I really enjoyed the main event. I know some people were saying it didn't live up to the hype, but it was a damn good boxing match. I thought there was a lot of tension in it. You saw tons of skill on both Bivol and Beterbiev's parts. There was always that danger factor for Bivol with the amount of power that Beterbiev brings to the table. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a rematch of the two, and I gotta tell you, my gut feeling tells me that if I'm picking anyone for the rematch, it's probably going to be Bivol, partly because you can't beat Father Time, and Beterbiev is going to be 40 by the time that fight happens. Eventually, you lose out, but even if he does end up losing that second fight, if it is competitive, we as boxing fans might be rewarded with a third fight, which is awesome. Why not? Any case, time for me to go. Go Yankees. Carlos Rodon on the mound, so God only knows what that means. I hope, and I will cross my fingers, that we end up 1-0 going into tomorrow's game. But if not, it's a 7-game series, right? All right. See you guys later.